Have you ever faced a moment where the world seemed to close a door on you? That heavy, silent rejection, like the unwelcoming sound of a door slamming shut, may have left you with questions. What if rejection is not the enemy, but an unexpected ally? What if that rejection, harsh, unyielding, could be the very catalyst for something greater, something even you might not see just yet? Today, we delve into a profound exploration inspired by the Stoic wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, transforming the sting of rejection into a force that propels you forward. In this journey, you'll meet Aiden, a young professional who, at first glance, seems to be lost in the maze of setbacks and closed doors. But, as we'll discover, with each challenge, each no he encounters, Aiden's story reveals timeless lessons from Stoicism, unraveling the power of calm resilience, self-worth, and unexpected growth. Are you ready to flip the script on rejection? Are you prepared to walk a path where each no becomes a chance to strengthen your inner self and unlock untapped potential? Because what you'll find in the end may change the way you see every rejection from here on out. So, let's take this journey together, step by step, lesson by lesson, to master the art of Stoic resilience. 1. Ignore them, the art of choosing self-worth over approval. Aiden found himself seated at a large boardroom table, his ideas for a project entirely dismissed by the team he'd spent months working alongside. The silence after his proposal was icy, the dismissive glances of his peers unmistakable. While the others continued their discussions, Aiden felt an overwhelming urge to defend his work, to convince them of his value. But he remembered something a mentor once told him. Sometimes it's not about being seen, it's about choosing not to chase. Imagine yourself in Aiden's place. What would you do if others seemed indifferent to your presence or ideas? It's tempting to feel slighted, to sink under the weight of feeling unappreciated. But in Stoicism, this moment of rejection becomes a chance to reclaim your worth, independent of others' opinions. By choosing to rise above their indifference, you assert that your self-worth isn't tied to their acceptance. Instead of stewing in resentment, Aiden made a quiet decision. He would continue working on his project with or without their approval. This wasn't a petty attempt to prove a point, but a clear, Stoic choice to prioritize his goals over the approval of those around him. He poured himself into the project, refining it, nurturing his ideas until they became stronger and more valuable to him than any outside affirmation. Are you allowing others' disregard to dictate your energy and self-worth? The Stoic path asks us to ignore those who choose to ignore us, not out of spite, but to protect our own peace. By stepping away from their indifference, you build a wall of self-respect, a quiet confidence that speaks louder than any attempt to seek validation ever could. For Aiden, the outcome of this choice was profound. His dedication and detachment caught the attention of those who truly valued his work, leading to unexpected support from a senior colleague. Through his quiet perseverance, he became known not as someone seeking approval, but as someone worthy of respect. And ironically, his calm indifference drew admiration, where his previous need for recognition had failed. By learning to ignore those who ignore you, you channel your energy into what truly matters, your goals, your happiness, and your growth. It's a profound act of reclaiming your own power, and in the end, it's often the first step to being genuinely valued by those who see your worth. Are you ready to prioritize your peace and potential over fleeting validation? Let's continue, because there's more to discover. Each lesson builds upon this foundation of strength, shaping how we can turn every no into a hidden yes. 2. Don't react emotionally. The power of Stoic calmness. After the cold dismissal of his project, Aiden found himself wrestling with frustration. He wanted to call out the dismissive behavior, to stand his ground and demand the respect he felt he deserved. But he paused, recalling another piece of wisdom. Your power lies in your response, not in their actions. In Stoicism, the teachings of Marcus Aurelius remind us that emotional mastery is a skill that transforms the sting of rejection. When emotions rise in the face of rejection, the easy path is to react impulsively. But what if you didn't give in to the impulse? What if you chose calmness over confrontation? Aiden took a deep breath, recognizing the initial surge of frustration as a natural response, but one he didn't need to act on. Instead, he took time alone, walking in the quiet of the city's gardens, letting his thoughts settle. He began to question his feelings rather than merely reacting to them. Why did this rejection bother him so deeply? Was it truly the rejection itself, or was it a deeper insecurity he had about his own worth and work? How often do we react to rejection as though it's an assault on our self-worth? Stoicism teaches us to pause, to ask why something disturbs us so, and to distinguish between what's within our control and what isn't. Aiden reminded himself that while he couldn't control the opinions of others, he could control his actions, his work, and his reactions. With newfound clarity, Aiden returned to his work without resentment or bitterness. He chose to be polite and focused, responding to his colleagues' questions with genuine calm. Instead of harboring frustration, he let his work do the talking. He poured his energy into his project, his confidence rooted in his own ability rather than the validation he initially sought from others. For Aiden, this shift in response was transformative. His colleagues noticed his resilience and newfound focus, sensing a calm authority in him that they hadn't seen before. By mastering his reaction, he created an aura of quiet strength, a reminder that true power is in how we control our internal state, not in how we influence the behavior of others. And in that stoic calmness, something remarkable happened. Over time, Aiden's steady response inspired others to view him differently, not as someone who needed validation, but as someone grounded and capable. His calmness, his lack of emotional reaction, spoke louder than any words or defenses could. Are you ready to harness the power of calmness, to master the art of responding rather than reacting? Let's move forward. Rejection is only one piece of the journey. The way we hold it in our mind is the next part of transforming its power. 3. Remove them from your mind. The art of letting go. As the weeks went on, Aiden found himself replaying the scenes of rejection in his mind. Despite his calm response, his thoughts would wander back to the dismissive faces, the moments of silence that felt like judgments. But he remembered the Stoic principle of detachment, to experience the sting of rejection, but to not let it occupy his mind. He knew that holding on to these memories would only weigh him down. So Aiden decided it was time to let go, not by pretending it didn't hurt, but by choosing to move beyond it. The Stoic approach, after all, is not to avoid or deny emotions, but to keep them from controlling us. Imagine if every rejection you faced lingered in your mind, growing like a shadow that followed you wherever you went. How would you live freely without the weight of these rejections? To help clear his mind, Aiden turned to activities that lifted his spirit and grounded his focus. He took up rock climbing, pushing his limits both mentally and physically. He found refuge in nature, spending weekends hiking trails, and he discovered a local reading group that explored philosophy and psychology. These activities weren't just distractions. They were moments that connected him to something larger, helping him understand that rejection was but a small part of his life's bigger picture. What about you? Are there places, activities, or experiences that broaden your perspective and help you let go of what no longer serves you? As Aiden embraced these new experiences, his mind began to clear. The memories of rejection gradually lost their sting, replaced by the thrill of new discoveries, new friendships, and the peace that came from connecting with himself and the world around him. He realized that by shifting his perspective, by viewing rejection not as a roadblock but as a detour, he opened himself to possibilities he hadn't considered before. Aiden's journey also taught him the importance of surrounding himself with positive, supportive people. He gravitated toward friends who encouraged him, mentors who believed in his potential, and community members who shared his passions. This circle of positivity created an environment where he could grow without the shadow of rejection looming over him. When he looked back, he saw that what he had once perceived as a painful rejection had, in fact, been the push he needed to reframe his life. Through Stoicism, Aiden learned that letting go of rejection was not an act of denial, but an intentional choice to focus his energy on what would build him up rather than what might tear him down. With this shift, he became more adaptable, more resilient, and more open to life's unpredictable twists. Are you ready to practice this art of detachment, to let go of rejection and create a mind that's free to grow, unhindered by past setbacks? Let's journey onward. Now that we've tackled the art of letting go, it's time to talk about how to actively demonstrate your value, even when others might overlook it. 4. Demonstrate your value. Let your actions speak. With his mind clear and focused, Aiden knew it was time to show his worth, not through words or desperate attempts to seek approval, but through quiet, steady action. He understood now that the rejection he had felt wasn't a declaration of his inadequacy. It was simply an invitation to demonstrate his abilities in a way that others couldn't ignore. In Stoicism, the power of action over words is paramount. Rather than seeking validation, you channel your energy into becoming undeniably valuable. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt unseen, undervalued, or sidelined? It's tempting to explain yourself, to argue, or to make grand promises. But what if, instead, you allowed your work, your consistency, and your character to become your voice? Aiden returned to his project with renewed purpose, dedicating hours to refine it, diving into details that would make it impactful. He chose to embrace the work as if it were a personal mission, one that didn't rely on anyone's approval. He sought out feedback from trusted colleagues and mentors, not to validate himself, but to elevate the project and learn from others' insights. Day by day, he shaped his project into something of true value, something he could stand behind with pride. How often do you focus on showing value rather than proving it? One afternoon, Aiden's diligence caught the eye of a senior manager, Lauren, who was intrigued by his dedication. She saw not only the quality of his work, but also his consistency, his quiet resilience in the face of earlier rejection. Without making a grand announcement, Aiden had created something that couldn't be ignored. Lauren decided to endorse his project to the team, and soon Aiden's work began to gain traction. Through this experience, Aiden discovered a powerful truth of Stoicism. True value doesn't need loud declarations or flashy presentations. It needs commitment, a deep respect for the craft, and a calm patience that allows the work to speak for itself. Rejection no longer felt like a personal attack. It became an opportunity, a test of his ability to remain undeterred and focused on what he could control. For Aiden, this approach brought a new sense of freedom. He no longer felt the need to chase validation, because he had proven to himself that his value didn't waver based on external recognition. He realized that by pouring his energy into action rather than reaction, he had built a foundation of confidence that others could see without him having to say a word. Are you ready to demonstrate your value without the need for validation? Can you let your work, your actions, and your character be the evidence of your worth? Let's continue our journey with Aiden. The next step is essential: learning to be silent in the face of continued indifference and how to turn that silence into strength. 5. Embrace silence. turning stillness into strength. With his project gaining attention, Aiden faced yet another challenge. Not everyone in the office appreciated his newfound recognition. A few colleagues who had initially ignored his ideas continued to show indifference, even as his work began to shine. Aiden was tempted to confront them, to ask why they couldn't acknowledge his efforts. But then he remembered a crucial lesson in Stoicism. Silence, when embraced wisely, becomes a powerful shield. Imagine being in a situation where someone ignores your progress or downplays your success. The desire to confront, to seek an explanation, can be overwhelming. But what if, instead of pressing for acknowledgement, you chose to let silence be your response? What if you allowed the strength of that silence to speak volumes? Aiden decided to take a step back, to resist the urge to seek validation from those who didn't value his work. He chose to let go of the need to be recognized by everyone and instead embraced a kind of quiet detachment. He reminded himself that silence was not a surrender, but a way to maintain his peace, a decision to remain unaffected by others' indifference. This silence wasn't passive, it was active, intentional, and rooted in his respect for himself. How often do we seek affirmation from those who may never provide it? Stoicism teaches us to be selective with our energy, to avoid exhausting ourselves in the pursuit of validation that might never come. Instead, silence becomes a declaration of self-worth, a calm acknowledgement that our peace is more valuable than another's approval. As Aiden embraced this silence, he noticed a subtle shift within himself. The less he sought recognition from his indifferent colleagues, the more secure he felt in his own achievements. His silence began to intrigue those around him. In a world where people often chase acknowledgement, Aiden's quiet confidence stood out. His refusal to seek validation from those unwilling to offer it made him appear self-assured and resilient. And gradually, those who had once been indifferent started paying attention. Aiden's silence, his steady focus on his own work rather than on their reactions, created a quiet strength that couldn't be ignored. It spoke louder than words ever could, showing that his self-worth was unshakable and independent of anyone's opinion. Can you allow silence to become a tool for resilience, a means of preserving your inner peace in the face of indifference? With silence now a powerful ally, Aiden continued on his path. But the next step in his journey was perhaps the most transformative of all. The ability to cut off contact gracefully when necessary, to walk away from those who no longer served his growth. 6. Cut off contact, choosing peace over pursuit. Aiden's silent resilience had drawn the attention of some, but others remained resistant, uninterested in his growth or contributions. Despite his best efforts to cultivate a positive environment, he realized that there were people who would never recognize his value. In the past, Aiden might have tried to win them over, believing he could change their perspectives. But his journey with Stoicism had taught him a new truth. Sometimes the greatest strength lies in knowing when to walk away. Have you ever been in a relationship, professional or personal, where the other party refused to acknowledge your worth, regardless of your efforts? It's natural to want to bridge the gap, to fix what feels broken. But Stoicism reminds us that, at times, the healthiest choice is to cut off contact, to distance ourselves from those who drain rather than uplift. Aiden knew that staying in this cycle of seeking approval from people unwilling to give it would only chip away at his peace. He decided to take a step back, not as an act of bitterness, but as an act of self-respect. By setting a boundary, he was affirming that his well-being was more valuable than someone else's approval. He knew that he needed to invest his energy in relationships that respected and valued him. But how does one gracefully create this distance? Aiden approached it with calmness, treating the decision not as a statement against others, but as a choice for himself. He reduced his interactions with those who disregarded him, avoiding unnecessary conversations and focusing instead on building connections with colleagues who appreciated his contributions. He allowed his actions to set the boundary, choosing silence over argument and distance over confrontation. What would it feel like to reclaim your energy by choosing peace over constant pursuit? Cutting off contact is not about severing ties with hostility. It's about embracing your right to peace. By choosing to limit contact with those who detract from your growth, you redirect your energy toward those who inspire and uplift you. Aiden's decision brought a new sense of clarity. Without the weight of trying to please everyone, he found more time and energy to focus on what truly mattered. His projects flourished, his circle of supportive colleagues grew stronger, and he felt a profound sense of freedom. The choice to walk away had not only preserved his peace, but had also allowed him to pursue his goals with greater focus. In time, the people he distanced himself from noticed his absence. Some even questioned why he no longer sought their input. His response was simple: "I've chosen to invest my time in what brings growth and positivity." This Stoic detachment wasn't about proving a point. It was a quiet acknowledgement that he valued himself too much to chase approval where it wasn't freely given. Are you ready to embrace the freedom that comes from choosing peace over pursuit? From investing your energy in those who truly see your worth? Aiden's story reminds us that sometimes walking away is the most dignified step toward self-respect. Now that he's created this space, the next lesson awaits: learning to fuel oneself with the motivation to prove one's potential, not for others, but for oneself. 7. Prove them wrong. Turning doubt into determination. Having distanced himself from those who couldn't see his value, Aiden felt a new sense of freedom. Yet, even as he moved forward, a small part of him remembered their dismissive glances, their lack of belief in his abilities. But instead of letting these memories pull him down, he saw them as fuel. This was his chance to prove, not to them, but to himself, that he could rise beyond anyone's expectations, even his own. Have you ever felt that twinge of doubt, the sting of someone underestimating you? Stoicism teaches us to use such moments not as wounds, but as catalysts, pushing us to refine our abilities and sharpen our focus. Instead of seeking external validation, we look within, building a foundation of competence and self-belief that no outside judgment can shake. Aiden decided to invest deeply in a challenging project that would push his skills to their limits. He committed to early mornings and late nights, studying techniques and insights that would elevate his work. He wasn't just working harder, he was working smarter, seeking out mentors and resources to master each skill required. For Aiden, this journey wasn't about showing his detractors they were wrong. It was about proving to himself what he was truly capable of. What if you redirected the energy of every doubt or dismissal into a drive to excel? In silence, Aiden grew. He didn't announce his plans or seek approval. Instead, he let his progress speak for itself, every small achievement a testament to his perseverance and dedication. By focusing on his growth, he began to experience a profound shift. He no longer needed anyone's approval because he had his own. Months later, the project was complete, a piece of work that surpassed even Aiden's own expectations. His colleagues, the very ones who had doubted him, took notice, and soon enough his success became the talk of the office. But Aiden didn't need their praise to feel accomplished. His sense of achievement was rooted in the countless hours of focus, in the quiet resilience he had built, and in the pride he felt for pushing his own boundaries. Can you find it within yourself to let your success be the loudest response, the proof that you need no validation but your own? For Aiden, this lesson was one of the most empowering in his journey. He learned that success derived from inner strength and commitment is far more satisfying than any external acknowledgement. His journey taught him to view doubt as a challenge to overcome, not by convincing others, but by reaching new heights of personal excellence. Now that Aiden had reclaimed his confidence, it was time to celebrate his progress, not with more work, but by allowing himself to find joy in life outside of achievements. This leads us to the next lesson: embracing joy and connection as part of a balanced life. 8. Go out and have fun, finding joy beyond achievement. After months of dedication and intense focus, Aiden finally saw the fruits of his labor. His work had blossomed into something remarkable, and his confidence was stronger than ever. Yet he realized that life couldn't be all about projects, goals, and proving his potential. He needed balance, a reminder of the joy that existed outside of work and achievements. Inspired by Stoicism, Aiden understood that happiness wasn't merely found in success, but in the richness of life itself. Have you ever felt so consumed by proving yourself that you forget to enjoy the simple pleasures of life? Stoicism reminds us that while discipline and perseverance are vital, they must be balanced with moments of joy, laughter, and connection. Life's true richness lies in embracing experiences beyond our ambitions. Aiden decided to let go, to take a step back from his routine and reconnect with the world beyond his goals. He joined a local hiking group, rekindling his love for nature, and began attending community events. He even picked up an old guitar, an instrument he hadn't touched in years. Through these activities, he found a renewed sense of joy and freedom that work alone could never provide. What passions or interests have you set aside in the pursuit of success? What if you took the time to reconnect with them? One Saturday, while hiking with his new friends, Aiden found himself laughing freely, feeling lighter than he had in a long time. These moments of joy became a powerful reminder that life is a mosaic of experiences. Work, yes, but also friendship, laughter, and play. The Stoic path doesn't deny pleasure. It teaches us to find pleasure that is wholesome, that feeds the soul without consuming it. In embracing these activities, Aiden also noticed a remarkable change in himself. His mind felt clearer, his energy renewed. He returned to work with a sense of vitality, his creativity sharper, his focus steadier. Through finding joy, he had created a rhythm in his life that balanced effort with ease, ambition with contentment. Could you allow yourself to seek joy, to explore activities that bring laughter, peace, and connection into your life? Aiden's newfound balance allowed him to approach each day with a fuller heart, and as he spent more time with friends and pursued activities that made him feel alive, he realized that his sense of worth wasn't solely tied to his achievements. It was also nourished by moments of pure happiness, by memories made with friends, and by the joy of simply being. The lesson of Stoicism here is clear. While resilience and discipline are essential, so too is the ability to embrace the beauty of life around us. Aiden's story teaches us that joy is not a distraction from our path, but a crucial part of it, infusing our lives with meaning and balance. With this newfound joy, Aiden's self-assurance deepened. He was not only more fulfilled but also more confident in his social presence. The next step in his journey was about sharing his growth, not for validation, but to build genuine connections and support his community. This brings us to our next lesson: building your social status with integrity and authenticity. 9. Build your social status, cultivating influence through integrity. Aiden had reached a stage where he felt secure in his work, balanced in his personal life, and content within himself. But he realized that his journey didn't need to be one of solitude. He wanted to build genuine relationships and a network of people who respected not only his achievements, but also his character. Stoicism teaches us that influence comes not from chasing popularity, but from cultivating genuine connections and engaging with integrity. Aiden was ready to step into this role, to share his journey and learn from others around him. Have you ever wanted to grow your social presence without feeling as though you were selling yourself? Stoicism shows us that real influence isn't about seeking followers or applause. It's about demonstrating values that resonate with others, creating a ripple effect of positive growth. To begin, Aiden engaged in community events, volunteering to help with initiatives that aligned with his values. He didn't see it as networking in the traditional sense. Rather, he approached each opportunity as a chance to contribute to something meaningful. Through these interactions, he met people who valued his commitment, his calmness, and his quiet determination. His relationships were based not on titles or status, but on shared goals and respect. Aiden's choice to focus on meaningful connections rather than shallow networking brought surprising benefits. People who shared his passions naturally gravitated toward him, recognizing in him a sincerity that set him apart. He began to build a circle of people who not only admired his work, but also appreciated his character. How often do you prioritize genuine connection over popularity? Through his community involvement, Aiden discovered that building social status wasn't about appearing a certain way, but about being his authentic self. He shared his successes and failures with humility, openly discussing the lessons he learned along the way. People began to see him as a mentor, someone who didn't just offer guidance but genuinely listened, encouraged, and cared. This approach to building influence aligned perfectly with the principles of Stoicism. Aiden realized that his social status wasn't measured by how many people knew him or admired him. It was about the quality of relationships he nurtured and the positive impact he created within his community. He was building something far more valuable than status. He was building trust and respect. In time, Aiden's influence expanded. Colleagues and friends came to him for advice, not because of any formal title, but because he had proven himself as someone who led with integrity. And this quiet influence created a strong network of allies, friends, and mentors who respected him for who he was, not just what he had achieved. Could you imagine building influence based on integrity, not ambition, on shared values rather than personal gain? With this network and newfound social presence, Aiden was prepared for whatever challenges or opportunities life might bring. The next step in his journey was learning to handle the presence of those who might still choose to ignore or dismiss him. In Stoicism, sometimes the strongest response is not engagement, but detachment. And so, Aiden learned the lesson of acting as if indifferent people did not exist. 10. Act as if they don't exist, preserving peace through detachment. With a network of genuine connections and a growing sense of confidence, Aiden felt more secure in his path than ever before. Yet, despite his successes and his integrity, he encountered people who still treated him with indifference, ignoring his contributions and downplaying his achievements. In the past, this might have rattled him. But now, guided by Stoicism, he was learning the art of detachment, a choice to act as if those indifferent to his efforts simply didn't exist. Have you ever been in a room where someone's dismissal of you was so palpable that it almost felt like a barrier? Stoicism teaches that such dismissive behavior is not within our control. Instead, we can choose to rise above, to focus on those who value us, and to let go of those who don't. Acting as if indifferent people don't exist is not about pettiness, but about directing your energy where it truly matters. Aiden decided he wouldn't give these individuals any more of his attention or emotional energy. He saw them in the hallways, sometimes even in meetings, but he no longer sought their approval or tried to engage them. Instead, he refocused his attention on his projects, his supportive colleagues, and his personal growth. By mentally stepping away from their presence, he preserved his own peace, allowing their indifference to fall away like water off a stone. Could you detach from those who ignore you, choosing instead to invest your energy where it's valued? In moments where he had to interact with these individuals, Aiden kept his conversations brief and strictly professional. without the personal depth he shared with others. His boundaries were clear, not out of resentment, but out of respect for his own peace. In his mind, he had built a quiet wall that protected him from their disregard, keeping his focus on what mattered. Over time, something interesting happened. By acting as if these indifferent people didn't exist, Aiden freed himself from any need to seek their acknowledgement. This detachment gave him a steady calm that others couldn't ignore, and ironically, it often drew curiosity from the very people who once disregarded him. His peace became his strength, a testament to his ability to remain grounded in self-respect, regardless of others' behavior. How would your life change if you acted as if those who dismiss you don't exist? Aiden's practice of selective detachment brought him profound freedom. He realized that he could control his attention and that his self-worth was untethered to anyone's perception of him. In choosing this path, he wasn't avoiding anyone. He was simply choosing himself. With this newfound peace, Aiden was ready to take on whatever lay ahead, trusting that his value was recognized by those who mattered and that his self-respect was intact. Aiden's journey through rejection, growth, and self-discovery illustrates the incredible power of Stoicism. Rejection, which once seemed like an obstacle, had become a stepping stone, a catalyst for him to become the strongest, most resilient version of himself. Each lesson taught him to harness the art of detachment, inner peace, and quiet confidence, transforming every no into an opportunity for self-mastery. Are you ready to turn your own rejections into growth? To use every setback as fuel for your journey toward resilience and peace? Comment below with how these lessons resonate with you. Hit that like button if this video brought you value, and don't forget to subscribe to keep exploring the wisdom of Stoicism with us. Thank you for joining us on this journey toward inner strength, and may your own path be one of courage, wisdom, and resilience. Here's to mastering the art of turning rejection into your greatest ally.